Okay. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, this week we're in Genesis chapter 23, verse 1 through 25:17. This deals with the life of Sarah. And chapter 23 opens, this is going to be the first burial in the Bible. So chapter 23 opens by telling us about Sarah, who she was. She was 127 years old when she died. The book of Jasher said that Sarah had gone to Hebron to seek Abraham and Isaac because they had gone to offer up Isaac, and she died there. It also goes into detail about how she was so brokenhearted, they say in the book of Jasher, knowing that she thought, Abraham had sacrificed Isaac. So they mourned her in the city Kiriath Arba, which is in Hebron. The city of Kiriath Arba would eventually become Hebron. So when you hear them talking,
same as Hebron. Okay, right there.
So it was here he starts a dialogue with the children of Heth for a place that he can bury Sarah. And Heth, H-E-T-H, in Hebrew, it's Hath, H-A-T-H. It means Terah, and it's spelled Chet Tav.
Terra like soil?
Yeah, Terah, T-E-R-R.
A.
No, O-R. Terah. Chet means, and when you break Chet down, it means fear of Yahweh or circumcision. And the Tav means a mark or a sign in Hebrew. So this just happens to be the place where Abraham circumcised himself and all the males of the household. So there's a lot of things that took place there. So the children of Heth, Terah, tells him that he has to talk to Ephron, the son of Zohar. Ephron means a fawn like calf. Zohar means tawny or light. So Abraham, he meets with the calf of light man because he wants to purchase the cave of Machpelah. Malapek, a lot of people call it, but it's Machpelah in Hebrew, and it means double portion. Jewish Encyclopedia says it was a double cave with 2 stories. That was interesting. I never knew that.
A cave can be 2 stories?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So Abraham's going to pay, I guess if it's big enough, Nancy, that they can cut it out and carve it out or whatever they have to do. Abraham's going to pay 400 shekels of silver. 400 is the numeric value of the letter Tav, or sign of the covenant. So Sarah is buried in that cave. Genesis 24 goes on to say, now Abraham was old, well on in years, and Hashem blessed Abraham with everything. This is another Hebrew idiom that we talked about at the beginning of Genesis. Remember I told you there was different idioms and things throughout the Bible. This is the idiom, again, meaning that he lived each day to the fullest. So something that each one of us should be doing. Just live each day to your fullest. You're not guaranteed tomorrow. Genesis 24, 2 through 9 goes on to say, and Abraham went to his servant, the elder of the household, who controlled all that was his. Place now your hand under my thigh, and I will have you swear by Hashem, God of the heaven and God of the earth, that you not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell. Rather to my land and to my kindred shall you go, and take a wife for my son Isaac. And so the servant said to him, perhaps the woman shall not wish to follow me to this land. Shall I take your son back to the land from which you departed? Abraham answered him, beware not to return my son to thee. Hashem, God of heaven, who took me from the house of my father and from the land of my birth, who spoke concerning me and who swore to me, saying, to your offspring will I give this land. He will send his angel before you, and you will take a wife for my son from there. But if the woman will not wish to follow you, then he shall be absolved of the oath of mine. However, do not return my son to there. So the servant placed his hand under the thigh of Abraham his master and swore to him regarding the matter. So now Abraham is going to, has summons his servant Eleazar, You know, Eleazar means God is help, or God is one, like one, to find a bride for his son Isaac.
I have a question when you get to a stopping point.
Okay. He tells him that she cannot be a Canaanite, but shall go to my country, my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac. So Abraham had Eleazar put his hand under his thigh, because his thigh is what represented the seed and of that person. So the seed, I give to you this land. Remember I told you in Genesis 1:1, when we started Genesis, verse 3, that's all you hear is seed, seed, seed. And this is how the seed is weaving through. So we're still seeing another offspring of this, seed weaving through here. Nancy, do you want me to answer a question before I go forward?
When you're saying about the thigh, it then reminded me that back when Jacob wrestled with God, that he pulled his thigh out of the joint. Is that somehow related to the same
area, right.
Okay. And that relates to seed also.
Seed also.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Eleazar took 10 camels, the riches, and he went to Mesopotamia. Aram means of 2 rivers, and this was about 500-mile journey. So don't think that, when he sets out to go get Rebecca, it's just like, oh, it's right up the road. It's a 500-mile journey. And he arrives at the city of Nahor, which means snorting. I love the names of these things. I find them fascinating. Just as the woman come to the well to draw water. Camels in the Strong's root word means to deal fully or recompense. Excuse me. It also means to deal out or to bountifully, to recompense, to repay, to wean a child, to be weaned, to ripen, to bear fruit. It's interesting what that, and this is all under camel, what that comes from. Mm-hmm.
All of that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So if you break down camel in Hebrew, you've got the gimel, mem, and lamed. The gimel is the one that looks like the camel. It's got the little thing at the top and little legs that come down like this. And mem looks like a big, letter like this that's full. And lamed is, like this. And the camel, the lamed is the camel. The mem is the water. And lamed, are disciplines or teaching of learning. So in the Hebrew form, in the gimel form, it means to repay. So here, the gimel is going to represent the 3rd letter of the alphabet, and it's associated with weaning a child. Also, if you plant, I'll go over it with you, Nancy. Also, if you plant fruit trees, you cannot eat the fruit off of a fruit tree. The 4th year is dedicated to Adonai. It's the same thing that they're in the Shemitah year this year. They don't plant. They let the fields rest. And it's not till to the 5th year, and then the fruit can be eaten. This is another thing that goes back to Genesis, earlier with Noah, when he plants the vineyard. Remember, he plants the vineyard, but he's not going to eat the fruit off of that vineyard that 1st year. So this is all, weaving again. The water in the mem, in the 2nd letter of, when you break it down, is womb. It comes from womb, and it means visible life. So camels can store water for long, long periods of time without needing more. In general, camels were usually bit, they spit, they bite, they belch.
They make funny noises.
Yeah.
And their breath stinks.
And the biggest thing they do is when they walk, they pass gas. Good talk, right in the family. Imagine going 500 miles with that smell.
Heck.
Yeah, good talk. At least they had one good thing. I figured it out. I'm thinking, Lord, really, they were outside. Nothing is worse than being with somebody that's got gas and you're in a closed area. At least outside. I mean, we had that when we were at Jordan, Larry, you and I, going to Petra.
Oh, yes, we
Yeah.
did. I'm thinking, where are you going with it? Yes, we certainly did.
Yeah.
That donkey blessed us all the way down that whole 2.5 mile walk.
So anyway, Abraham's going to arrive at the city of Nahor. And, he's going to arrive at the city of Snorting, where the camels knelt down at the wells, where the women would come and draw the water. Genesis 24:14, Eleazar, he now prays. He said, now let it be that the young woman to whom I say, please let down your pitcher that I may drink, let her be the one I have chosen for your servant Isaac. So Rebecca approaches, or Rivka is her Hebrew name, with her jar on her shoulders. And verse 24:18 says, please give me a little water from your jar. So she said, drink, my lord. Then she quickly let the pitcher down to her hand and gave him a drink. And when she had finished giving him a drink, she says, I will draw water for your camels also until they have finished drinking. You imagine how much water these camels are going to drink? 500-mile journey going across where they went. That wasn't just a little slurp and they're done, because they store their water big time.
I wonder how many gallons they stored.
I don't know. So 10 camels is going to represent a minyan. You know, if you got 10 people, you know, that's what you usually need when you have council votes. You know, you have to have at least 10 people to have it. You know, today, you know, they look at, you know, congregations look today. If you got 10 people in the congregation, you got a minyan. That's what it is. 10 people to save a city. Yud Haid is the number 10. And 10, of course, is for testings and trials and plagues and everything else. So it was when the camels had finished drinking that the man took a gold nose ring weighing half a shekel and 2 bracelets for her wrist weighing 10 shekels of gold. Verse 24:53, the servant brought out an article of silver and articles of gold and garments and gave them to Rivka. He gave precious things to her brother and to her mother. So here in the verses we find a list of the gifts of garments in addition to the silver gold ornaments that were given to Rivka. Nose ring, symbolic of his servant. Gold represents deity, while the half shekel is the price of atonement for one soul, which is nephesh. 2 bracelets weighing 10 shekels, symbolic of the service to her husband. Verse 29 of chapter 4, we find that Rivka had a brother named Laban, who upon seeing the gifts that his sister had been given, Eliezer would then tell Rivka's father and brother the story of Abraham and Sarah and how Isaac had been their only son, did not have a wife, and he was sent to Abraham to find a wife for Isaac. He told him about the water for the camels and that he drank also. He finds that she is the daughter of Bethel and tell Eleazar to take her and to go. I bet you his eyes lit up when he saw all the jewels and everything else. Like, yeah, man, we're going to get some fun here now. Big, rich family. So Rivka, she was a shepherdess. Her name means to snare, tie up, or be caught. Verse 58, chapter 24, Rivka says she will go with Eleazar along with her nurse. They rode upon the camels, and Isaac met them at Beer La Roi. Look at that word in there. It's a real long word in there. It's spelled, I don't know how you're spelling it in your Bible. It's B-E-E-R.
Well, what verse are you at?
It's 58.
I don't have one like that in there.
You don't have one like that?
Mm-mm.
You need a Hebrew Bible.
50 to the top. Oh.
Did you find it?
Wow, that's a long word.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, it means, well, of the living one seeing me. When he saw Rivka come into the camel, Rivka takes her veil and covers herself. Isaac would take her into his mother's tent and marry her. Same place that, again, that Yahweh spoke to Hagar after she fled from Sarah, that she was to return and to submit to Sarah. And then you go on over chapter 25, and it deals with, it says, Abraham proceeded and took a wife whose name was Keturah. And we're going to find out who this woman is, which is interesting. But also it says, and, you know, once he takes his wife Keturah, she bore him, and she's going to give him 6 kids. Okay, this is in addition to the ones he already had.
I have a question back from your...
We'll get it at the end.
Okay.
This is going to be in the 6 editions. Now, remember, Abraham's old, still producing kids, 6 kids. Now, these 6 kids that he has by Keturah, the first one was Zimram. His name means a musician. The second one was Joshan. His name means snarler. The third one was Medan. He's contention. And Midyan is another one. He's strife. Yishbak means he releases. And Shura means wealth. So these are the... Yeah. So you can imagine what went on with those kids. Abraham gave all he had to Isaac, but the children of the concubine, he gave them gifts and sent them on eastward. Everything goes to Isaac. Why? Firstborn inheritance. Firstborn. So you got to remember all this. Verse 7, Abraham lived to be 175 years old, died at a good old age, mature and content, and Ishmael and Isaac would bury him in the cave at Malapek where Sarah was buried. 2 stories. He's going to be buried above or below, one or the other, in that cave. Isaac would live near, the Beer Lahai Laroi. He's going to live there. In verse 12 to the end of the chapter, gives the descendants of Ishmael. I thought that was interesting because everything that goes on now in the Middle East, a lot of this is the descendants of Ishmael. And so it's going to list, all the all the descendants of Ishmael who are eventually going to become the heads of nations. And at the end of that chapter, we find out Ishmael is going to live 137 years old, and the family dwelt in Havlah to Shur, which means wall, circle. Circle, wall is where these people are going to live. Their names are interesting too. The first one, Nebayuth, his name means height. Abelal, he means chastened of God. Mitsam means sweet odor. Mishma means a hearing. Duma means silence. Massa means burden. Harad means mighty. Tama means desert. Yetur means enclosed. Nafesh means refreshment. And Kama means original. So that was the interesting.
How many sons was that?
They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. Now, what's the interesting thing about this?
Yeah, 12 sons.
I always thought, when Abraham, when Sarah died and Abraham remarries Keturah, I thought she was a totally different individual, which she was. But I thought it was just somebody different that we didn't know. It's like if somebody come in here and her name was, Betty. We don't know no Betty, but this woman we actually do know, according to the Midrash, the Jewish Midrash. Keturah is Hagar. Okay, that blew me away when I found that was Hagar. She was called Keturah because her deeds were as beautiful as incense. This is all from the Midrash now. And because she tied her opening, and in other words, tied her opening is an ephranism. It means indirect word or an expression substituted for or to be considered too harsh or blunt, referring to something unpleasant or embarrassing. That's what they said it was. But the rabbis say Hagar is the same as Keturah because she was completely celibate after Abraham, after she bore Ishmael. And she was not sexually intimate with any man from the day she separated from Abraham. And they said that Isaac played a part in this, and the fact that when Sarah died, he saw how lonely and how upset his father was, and he went and got Hagar and brought her back to Isaac. So he marries. Remember, she was an Egyptian princess. So that's who they're saying Hagar was. Interesting, isn't it?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so who is Ishmael's wife? It says he has 12 sons. Where is his wife ever named?
I don't think I saw her name in
I
there.
don't think it says either.
Mm-mm. It's like Lot's wife. That's all she's known as.
They don't even mention he has a wife, do they? They just said he has sons.
Yeah, just sons.
So she didn't even get a name.
Mm-mm.
Remember, everything was written from the male perspective. I'm serious.
I understand that, but at least, wow.
Well, I always use the illustration of Jesus' brothers and sisters. there was James and Jude and Jose and the sisters. And that's the way it's written, just like that. I thought, okay. So we just don't know.
Well, that's why it's so surprising that there's women's names in the Bible to begin with.
This poor lady's name in that Bible is Deborah. She was a fighter. I remember her in middle school.
I was looking to see if I see anything in the linealogy, but I don't.
But that's interesting. They don't, because sometimes it says that the mother named them and stuff like that. There's no mention of her at all. I never noticed that until now.
That's good.
And to be honest with you, he probably had concubines too, because that was just a common thing.
Father
So,
like son?
yeah, literally. So, if you want to